Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Facebook Live with our amazing Kay Watanabe and Sean Curts. I'm glad you are all here. I hope that you enjoy the call. We will see you all in a minute. Take it away, guys.
All right. Thank you, Jennifer. Everyone, Kay Watanabe in Tucson, Arizona, core coach. I'm really excited today to interview one of my top students, someone that has really excelled just in the short time we've known each other. And I had the choice of choosing any of my 12 students now or anybody that I coached in the past. And I chose specifically Sean Curts because of just the work that he's been doing. Sean, tell us about your core journey, how long you've been in, who brought you in.
Great, Kate. Hey, thank you so much for having me today. Yes, I've been in the core now for a total of 7 years, which is 14 semesters. And I first got introduced to the core by a lender, and she says, you got to get to check out the core. This is going to change your business. This is going to step you up to where you want to be and have a real profitable business. So at that time, I was roughly doing about 25 sales myself, about 30 million in sales, and I was burned out. I was roughly doing about 60, 70 hours a week, no balance in my life, working a ton, and going through the struggle.
That's such a common thing that you see especially in our world of real estate, right? There's not really a good map or guide if you're not in some sort of coaching program. And one thing that even for me, when I first got in, I used to have these competitions of who can work the most hours. I have another lender friend that he's a core coach, and we would just send each other our hours to see who could do the most instead of who could be the most effective. And one thing that, I'm really happy that I had you this semester, because you're in a market that is so tremendous that I really feel, and I believe after meeting you and after seeing what you do and how quickly you implement, that you should be a top 5 guy in the core. You have a great price point, you got a great market, but most important, you've got a great attitude and you've got some really good core values, and that you attack things much quicker than I see most do. So, but we had a goal this semester. You said, you know what, Kay, I've been in the core for 14 semesters, which is 7 years, and I asked you one question. You remember what that question was?
Yeah, you asked me, why aren't you making $1 million net a year?
Yep, which is extremely hard to do. It's not something that most people do. It's a target that seems to just move with the market that we have. And I really believe that with your skill set and what you do and your passion, that this is the year we're going to hit it, and this is going to be the year hit it. So there's a couple of things that tell me about your coaching journey up to the point of this semester. Like, how has it been? Tell me about some of your struggles.
Yeah, when I first entered level 3 in the program, it's like drinking from a fire hose. A lot of forms. You gotta act very quickly. Very overwhelming at first, and didn't have any systems down. So learning the greatness tracker was very foreign to me, and it's a lot of work. Most agents don't get that much work done in a week, let alone just all the daily tasks and having these systems down. So it really took me a while to adapt and change and get a mindset on having to do the forms, having the accountability of a coach. And once I got those systems down, it became, second nature. Like, this is what we got to do every day, just like brushing your teeth. It becomes, part of your life.
Yeah, so let's talk about the greatness tracker. I do think that the greatness tracker is the most powerful form we have for business growth. If you want to start ramping up your units, you have to do a great job with the greatness tracker. However, it's the most abused form that we have. It's the most difficult form that we have, but the highly abused form that we have. So tell me about the greatness tracker. How have you abused it in the past, and what are you doing differently this time around to make sure it's intentional, impactful, and effective?
Yeah, I think you just got to be real with yourself. Every week, the numbers don't lie. If you're going to do the activities, you got to write it down by hand. I carry the greatness tracker with me and my lead tracker everywhere I go, and I write down every time I make those activities. I log them, and I think that's very important. A lot of people like to, put it on the computer, fluff it, and I think you just got to be real with yourself We're paying the core to be, we're accountable to the core. And I think you got to be honest with yourself. Did you do the work or did you not?
You have to be accountable to the future you, the future success, right? So if you start to fudge it now, you're just giving yourself permission to fudge it even more and even more. Before you know it, it spirals so out of control that the whole greatness tracker is a complete disaster. It's probably fudged from top to bottom, so that when you get to a point where you're turning in full greatness trackers, me as a coach, I have a very hard time coaching to that because it seems like everything's good, right? But the truth is, at the very, very bottom, we start looking at your deals and your transactions. So if you're turning in full greatness trackers with very empty bottom line, that's when we have to start digging in as a coach, and we start role playing a lot. And then from there, I dig into the business's soul. But you do a really good job of it, because what has changed so far for your bottom line? Talk about some of the success there.
Oh, just within getting you as a coach, just being real with you and just working through the struggle. I've last week we got 3 listings. We signed up. We got 2 buyers under contract. Just a massive February going into March, where the rest of the agents in the office are really struggling and dying. Having to generate the leads that we need. And you told me, you said, I need 5 warm leads or die, pretty much, which is a good phrase. So having 5 warm leads a week.
Let me clarify that part. Since you've been coached with me, we talk about the mentality, right? And I said, hey, I want 1 warm lead a day.
Yes.
Okay. Or I'm going to go and push you off that building. Would you go and get 1 warm lead a day if I threaten that to you?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And not will I ever do that. I'll never, ever do something like that. But that's the mentality that we have to attack the day with. Okay. But sometimes we just kind of get stuck in our business and we don't have an end result that we're looking for. Once that mindset shift happens for you, I can just see the explosive results. Right. Another thing that, in addition to the greatness tracker that we're working on, is we're working on estate attorneys right now, the probate, the conservatorship. And we talk a lot. So if you have a coach, I'm going to give you a tactic right now. And if you're working on something, talk to your coach a lot. And I know most coaches here are going to kill me for saying that, but we talk probably 2 to 3 times a week, right? We talk probably after hours when our kids are sleeping and our family's sleeping, just to touch base. I don't mind doing stuff like that, because that also brings me joy. We can talk tactics back and forth, but talk about your estate attorney plan, what you're doing with it, because I want to share some specific tactics on what you're doing to grow that program.
Excellent. Yeah. So our estate attorney plan is, we have a lot of value add services that we provide in-house, so it's almost like bundled services. So my family, we own a construction company, which is also a hauling company too, that we offer. And then we just opened up a estate sale company that we're implementing actually this week. So it's a lot of value that we bring to our estate attorneys. And when we go to them, we offer a one-stop shop for their clients' needs. So not only do they make more money on the sale, which is, you get a happy customer because they profited more. And then, we are actually renovating properties, giving the seller an allowance that we get paid on the back end. So there's a lot of value there that a lot of attorneys are very excited about.
Yeah. So the reason why I've really gravitated towards the estate, the probate type of attorney, is because they're highly motivated sellers, right? They're not the sellers that tend to like, well, if I sell it, I sell it. Let's price it here. I don't care if it sells. And they don't do what's necessary to get the property either prepared, ready to go, right? Showings are usually very difficult because maybe they'll shut a showing down, or they don't keep the home in its best light for a showing. But when you have somebody that is highly motivated to get the job done, and you provide them a unique selling proposition, you get all of the leads in your town. So just to clarify this, he has people that can clean out properties for the estate. He has people that can come in and do some light remodel work just to get it maybe into a financeable condition, or even to maximize the value for the estate to make more money. Not just that, when you start looking at the attorneys, the staffing, you're making life easy on them, right? Their staff within there, because let's face it, Sean, I mean, you guys own a construction company, but for the population of the core, other real estate agents, or even the general public, if they call a contractor within the last 5 years, how do you think that experience went for them?
Oh, horrible. During COVID, a lot of these contractors were stretched. They don't have a great reputation. Maybe the job didn't get completed on time. So I think having that in-house as me as the point of contact there, it really takes a lot of stress off them on the job.
Yes, you can facilitate that, and you're taking work, the hard work, the stressful work, the people that tend not to communicate well, because when you start looking at contractors, they tend to be hammer and nail guys, right? In terms of business minds that tend to want to go over and above with communication and reliability, they're not quite there yet. Okay. And what I like what you're doing right now, you're just taking off that heavy lifting from the estate attorney's staffing, which they control all the business. So if you go in there and you make life easy for them with property clean out, utility management, some light remodel work, even some of the estate sale stuff that you're doing where you can actually help them sell some of the personal property that we typically throw away in those situations, you're giving them another avenue to make even more money. And that's why you're blowing it up. And that's why I enjoy talking to you about it. So one thing I'd love for you to do is, eventually become a coach, and we can jump up on stage together and actually teach that, because I think me and you right now are the ones that are forward facing and really excelling in this program.
Excellent. Well, hey, I really look forward to that. And, I'd love that opportunity in the future. And I think it's going to be a great year. And I'd love having you as a coach. You're an amazing guy.
And you know what? One thing, I'm not going to let you off the hook. I'm going to ask you some tough questions now. Okay. Let's talk about staffing. Because it seems like now that the business is starting to ramp up, not just that, in the last 18 months, we had these ebbs and flows in business. In terms of staffing, we'd let people go too quickly. We would hire out of desperation instead of being proactive with them. We have no training program or training process. So you're bringing people in and we're setting them up for failure. Not just that, you are very, very busy right now. So how's it going for the staff that you have now? What do you need to do as the next step?
Yeah, great question. So going into this year was somewhat slow. Now, within the last 30 days, we took on about 5 to 7 listings, and my staff is pretty overwhelmed at this point. And I think at this next step, we are going to start to implement a transaction coordinator in-house, which is going to take off a lot of busy work, where my RP1, my staff, can focus on just getting the jobs done that they need to get done, and then we can offset the transaction to an in-house transaction coordinator.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. When you start looking at building a good team culture and you want to ramp up your client satisfaction, that has to be eventually transitioned to in-house. Because look at it this way: if you're using a brokerage TC and you need something done, you're still in the line. Right? How do you cut in front of the line is always the question and the mystery that you can happen. And what takes precedence? Is it going to be someone else's deal that might pay a little more money than you? Is it going to be your deal? I just said one day, you know what? I'm taking all of that out of the equation. I'm going to start bringing in-house transaction coordinating. And it's been so magical, because then from there, we can ramp up different wow checklists, right? We can look at different things to have our administrative staff assist us with getting CCRs by just asking and building a relationship, in addition to what we do as the salesperson. Okay. So let me ask you a tough question. When is this hire going to happen?
We are actually, as of now, I told my assistant, let's get the ad going. Let's start interviewing transaction coordinators right away, because I know there is going to be a busier season even coming, as spring approaches. And I really just want to be ahead of the curve, and I don't want to lose her as an assistant. So I'm going to be proactive about it now.
Yeah. So when you are looking on bringing on new employees, a lot of times we don't have an onboarding program. We don't have a regimented training program. We literally just throw these people into the fire. And it's so unfair to them, because just starting a new job is high pressure in itself. But when they come in and they lack the preparation, they lack the actual roles and their true responsibilities, and we start making them the everything person, it's really unfair. They're super stressed out, and then people start to ask, why did they quit? What was it? And they all quit because of us, because we run them into the ground, and we tend not to give them, we don't set them up for success. So what are you going to do differently this time around? You're going to bring this person in-house. What are you going to do to set them up for the highest level of success?
Yeah, we're going to have a 90-day training program. That's number one. And we're going to have a clear job description of what their duties are. And that way, both assistants can work together, and just the communication will be there. So we'll have checks and balances every day in our team meeting. That way we know what the next step is in providing a wow experience with our clients.
Yeah, and what the beauty about being in the core, and this goes for everybody out there, don't recreate the wheel. I've got an onboarding checklist. I've got a training checklist. I've got all the roles and responsibilities. I've got the contract to close checklist, and the core has it all. It has it all in their library. So don't go back in there and recreate the wheel. Take what we've already created and start to implement it right away. Because if you start to recreate that from the start, I'm going to tell you, you probably don't want to jump off a building, because there's so much that goes into it, and that'll just save you a bunch of time. And just know this is the value that you pay for, as a student. So I highly recommend you doing that. You're going to be coming to site visit here in the next few weeks, and you're going to see it in action. We are onboarding a brand new transaction coordinator. We're onboarding 3 brand new agents on our team. So you're going to get to see this thing in action. And then from there, you can take and choose and alter it to what your business is like. It doesn't have to be a mirror copy image of what we do. Take what we have created and start to adapt it to what your market is doing and your metrics and your data that you already have. Last thing here, let's talk about some metrics, right? I know we talk about metrics, how to make the business more predictable so that, hey, we're eliminating the guesswork out of it. One thing I want to talk about here is the daily lead number. Do you remember the daily lead count number? How do we come up with it?
So the daily lead number basically is, let's see if I have the number. Let's see. It's our total number, right? Divided by the days in the month, pretty much, right?
So one thing and what we have to do to get our business to become more predictable, take the guess out of it, and to know when we can go home and still feel good, even though we didn't maybe do an escrow that week or we didn't sign a listing that day, is to have what we call the daily lead number. For a long time, we would look at our lead tracker the day before our homework was due, or we would look at the lead tracker at the end of the month, and we would treat it like a reconciliation, very similar to a P&L. Why would you wait that long to figure out if you won or lost that month? And the problem is when you have a low lead count number for that month, that's going to show up with a crappy month with escrows or closings 2 to 3 months down the road. And sometimes we would just allow it to happen. And he's like, oh, that's just a bad month. And now I'm looking at some bad income coming in the next, 2 to 3 months. What we've determined is we look at our leads every single day. Everybody needs to look at their leads every single day and calculate what we call a daily lead count number. So let's do that exercise together, Sean, so that we can show them what we're working on. So when you look at your cover sheet, on the cover sheet, you have your Paylog unit number. What is that unit number?
Okay, so right now our unit number is four transactions for 47,000.
Okay, so 4 transactions for 47,000, which he's going to be doubling that in no time. I completely believe it, because he's already, you're doing those things in a week now, which I'm so happy to see. Right. So, and what is your conversion rate?
I would say my conversion rate right now, off the top of my head, I would say it's about 40%. 40% right now, a little bit less than half.
Let's figure out how many leads you need to generate per day so that if you're winning or losing the day. And this is where we need to get to with our lead tracker. So all we take the number 4 is how many deals he has to do. So Sean, pull it up. You're going to do 4 and you're going to divide it by 0.4, which is your closing percentage. All you have to do, if you get 10 leads from all of your sources, if you get 10 leads from all your sources in a month, you are going to hit your dashboard goal, right? You will hit it. It's like clockwork, and over a long period of time, you're going to hit it all the time, because we need to minimize the ebbs and flows in the business. The problem is we don't track our leads. We don't talk about our leads. They're not top of mind. So let's even do something even better. You have 20 working days in a month. You need to generate 10 leads, right? You have to generate 10 leads in a month divided by 20 working days. You have to get 1 lead every 2 days or bust. Okay, so
Yes.
how has that been, understanding these numbers now, how has that been a game changer for you?
Well, I think, if you could focus on just the day, if you got that lead that day and just focus on that, I think it takes the guesswork out and just be highly, highly focused on, going deep on what those theme day calls are and how you're going to generate that lead and ask them for business.
Correct. So that's the thing is, you brought up a good point, win the day. One thing, when you start looking at your greatness tracker, is I want you to look at your greatness tracker and just look at the day that you're in. Don't look at the whole week, because it's easy for us to say, you know what, I'm busy today. I'm not going to do my calls today, and I'm going to push it off till tomorrow. That is the most dangerous thing that you can do, because we all know what happens tomorrow. The work comes and it keeps coming and it keeps coming, it keeps coming, and you minimize the amount of time for you to do what we call makeup calls. It doesn't happen that way, right? So you have to win the day. Get your face-to-faces in, get your break bread in, get all of your conversations in, get your lead, really push for your lead. And if you do that, and let's say you don't get a lead or you don't get a transaction that day, you can go home knowing that you did the work necessary, because that's going to come. Sometimes we don't know when it's going to come, but just know, win the day and the positive results will show. So we're at time here. Sean, any last words for you?
Get a coach. Got to get a coach. Got to get accountable. With all the noise, you got to block out the noise. Stay focused on the day, and just do the work. Do the work.
Absolutely. And you know what? You're living proof of that. And I do say it. I'm going to say it again. All the people at the top 10, top 20, watch out. Sean Curts is coming. I'm going to make sure of it. He is going to start to dominate, because that 4 goal that he said, that's BS. He's going to start to do 8 soon. That's going to turn into 12, and slowly it's going to be up to 15, because I just believe in what he's doing. And really what it comes down to, he said it, get a coach. All right, we have our summit coming up here in May. I want to see everybody there, because the tactics that you're going to get there will blow up your business, and the high times and the low times. Because one thing I believe is that you can out-plan and out-execute a bad market. You don't have to sit there and listen to all the stuff that you hear on the news, because I'm breaking records right now. Sean, you're breaking records right now. Yes. And you know what? I believe it. This is the year. $1 million or bust, right?
Yep, that's the plan. That is going to happen. I guarantee it.
I believe it, and I'm going to make sure you get there. Thank you, everyone, for joining our live. We will see you soon.
Thank you, guys. You did amazing.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Take care.